I thought this was a masterclass in the use of silence so that when we did hear that line of dialogue, it really hit harder. And there's something lovely about the framing, and just in its simplicity and not showing us everything, but hinting at the scene. And I have been um, with my grandma as she is passing, and it's difficult. And there's a real heaviness in the solitude, but something that feels very important. And I thought that the focus on the very thriving jade plant, which is it was clearly an older jade plant for it to get that large, and the tending that needs to happen with that, but also something about like the tree of life. I don't know. I thought it was really lovely, and because they had that space, there's so many different ideas and emotions were allowed to percolate.
I loved the opening as the camera's kind of slowly moving in and moving to the left, and showing her walk in and not even having a direct look at her face as she discovers the grandmother has passed. I liked her just standing in the doorway, and just you could tell her demeanor changed ever so slightly. What a great performance, great direction here. And I loved the camera work. I love that the filmmakers chose not to show the grandmother and not to show the granddaughter's face full on. I liked just the profile, just even the stance of seeing her stand there behind her. You could just see the change, and I thought it was just so unique that the filmmakers didn't have the character walk right into the room, because I felt like that was very realistic. Like she just was avoiding going in, very subtly avoiding having to go into that room. And yeah, she was calling her mom, but I felt like she was also avoiding going in there and avoiding the emotion. So it was really nice to see her go out on the patio, have a cigarette, and just even then it was more profile on this character, and I really loved the performance of this actress. It was so subtle. Not even ever having a full-on shot on the grandmother's face, I felt was great. To me, less is more, and this really was a display of that, because we really didn't need that. We only just needed ever so slight, image of her laying in the bed still, and it was more about, being there for her. I'm here, but also the emotions this person was about to go through, or what she was going through, but holding back. It wasn't forced. It wasn't over the top. It was just so beautiful, this film. And the tree, I really liked the tree, and she just goes in, and still you kind of get more of a profile on her with the tree, and just sitting there. What was most heartbreaking, it wasn't even on camera. When, she starts humming, and you can just hear her voice cracking as she's humming. Gosh, that was just so beautiful, so well done, and just so touching and unexpected.
I get the feeling in this that these are her grandmother's last moments, final moments, and she's dealing with it and doing all the things that you have to do to deal with that moment, that really hard moment of realizing that someone is going, and all the logistics that you have to handle and the calls you have to make. And it made the title such a powerful statement, that I'm here, and the choice to be strong for someone, even when it's hard for you to be there for them. The humming, so powerful at the end, so moving as she's moved to tears in the midst of humming a song, which is clearly an important song that they shared. As the credits roll, it was just very poignant, very powerful audio to use. And it really highlighted the woman's pain, it highlighted her grief, and it really was just a beautiful way to kind of end out the thought of this film.
It deals with the topic of having a loved one pass and stumbling upon it. When it comes to the topic of death, I've learned that there's essentially two forms of death: the death that comes too fast and the death that comes too slow. The death that comes too slow is the death that you see coming, but it drags out for months to years, and there's not much you can do about it, but you slowly watch the person you love start to drift away. The death that comes too fast, like as we saw in the story, is the one where you do not expect it. You come home one day and they're gone. Uh, there's a lot of guilt that comes with the death that comes too fast, primarily in the sense that you don't get that opportunity to say goodbye. And it can cause a lot of guilt as you start to question where you were in those moments. It's very much a very somber short, but in just those 3 minutes, there's already just so much to talk about.
Well, this was such a moving story. The heartbreak, a granddaughter putting off checking on her grandmother to see if she's actually passed away to avoid that pain, and having the smoke and phoning her mom and changing the position of the jade plant, things that she probably did regularly on her previous visits to the grandmother. And the loss of the grandmother is so difficult, but also too that it appears she died alone. And for that granddaughter in particular, it was probably a moment of extreme sorrow that she couldn't be there and be with her. I just thought it was a really sensitive and insightful film.
The film is beautifully done in its quietness. The performance of the granddaughter is excellent. She is so still and full of controlled emotion. The rather plain apartment with the big jade plant works well, as does the very slow yet effective pan of the camera, notably the subtle shot of the grandma in the bed in the background as the lead moves around the apartment. The sobbing during the credits is also so moving.
I really enjoyed the initial stillness of the opening shot and how smooth the camera movements were. Sort of adds to that somewhat suspenseful atmosphere. I like that you never see I like that you never see the patient. I think that was a good choice by the filmmaker.